Now to Italy. Media tycoon Silvio Berlusconi, leader of the victorious Conservative coalition in Italy's recent elections, is expected to be nominated tomorrow as the new Prime Minister. Tonight, Italian President Oscar Scalfaro signalled that Berlusconi was the choice of senior politicians. As Premier, he'd be obliged to include the neo-fascist National Alliance in his cabinet, a move bound to fuel a row started by hitherto unseen wartime footage shown on Italian TV. Objectors say the film was trying to rewrite history and present Mussolini's fascists in a favourable light. You may find some of the pictures in David Sell's report disturbing.
Old men remember. Every year at this time, Italian partisans remember their dead, the men and women who died fighting in northern Italy against Mussolini's last-ditch fascist republic in the closing months of World War II. Here in Milan, one corner of a cemetery is dedicated to the partisans, many of whom were communists. Out of this anti-fascist struggle, a short and bloody civil war, today's democratic Italy was born. Now, though, doubts are creeping in. Italians are wrestling with their past as never before in post-war years. The events of World War II, which the nation has commemorated without question for 50 years, are now being subjected to scrutiny and re-evaluation. The shadow of the fascist dictator Mussolini is falling once again upon the Italian scene. Hitler's wartime ally has long been relegated to one of history's grubbiest cupboards. But now, a political party which openly reveres his memory is readying itself to play a major part in Italy's next government. This fact alone is forcing Italians to a re-evaluation of their history. In the same cemetery on the same day, this Sunday, but a few hours earlier, another group of old warriors was commemorating its dead. These were the fascists who fought with Mussolini against the partisans. Once Germany was beaten, their cause was lost, a defeat that has always rankled. The Germans abandoned Italy, their troops pulling out of Milan on the 25th of April 1945, with headquarters staff spat at by Italians long sick of the war and given the odd punch to see them on their way. The day has become a national holiday, celebrated as Italy's Day of Liberation from fascist dictatorship, a celebration still shunned by those unwilling to concede that the defeat of fascism was a necessary prerequisite for the birth of democracy in this country. So when, a month ago, a coalition of right-wing parties won the election, ending half a century of virtual isolation for the neo-fascists, the party's younger, thuggish element took happily to Rome's streets. Like every other party in Italy, the Italian social movement, as it was called, had changed its name. It is now, as the National Alliance, a substantial party in Parliament. Its leader, Gianfranco Fini, says fascism is over and done with. His party firmly democratic. Yes, but what, Italians wonder, does democracy mean to a party which still has the Duce's own granddaughter as an MP and which still openly honours the dictator who brought Italy to rack and ruin? At the heart of the conundrum, master of the mystery, so to speak, is Silvio Berlusconi, the billionaire publisher turned politician, who this week will almost certainly be asked to form a government. He it is, seen here with Umberto Bossi, his testy Northern League ally, who will be taking the National Alliance with him into power. For Enrico Levi, a dispassionate observer of his land, the outlook is far from clear.
The enigma bit is Berlusconi. He hasn't really made very clear where he stands. Obviously, he wrote a noble article saying that we are all children of the resistance, we are all children of democratic Italy.
Why do you have doubts about it?
The political motivations of Berlusconi are different, are newer and are a bit still mysterious. He is still a bit of a mystery to me and to many other people. Although I know personally him, I don't know him quite well. but he remains as a political animal, he remains a bit of doubt.
Further stirring the embers of uncertainty has been some extraordinary films shot by American Army cameramen as the war ended in Italy and screened last week by Italian state television. It shows crowds milling in Loreto Square in Milan, pushing to see the bodies of Mussolini and his mistress Claretta Petacci, who'd been strung up like carcasses in an abattoir for all to see. The pair had been captured and shot by Italian partisans the previous day. The film, from an American archive, had never before been seen. It was not for the squeamish, for the dictator's face had been kicked out of shape as he lay dead. For one TV viewer belonging to the National Alliance, the sight was especially painful.
My grandfather was butchered with Petacci, and what makes me most indignant was the way the American cameraman propped the face of Claretta Petacci close to my grandfather to set the scene. This shows exasperating cynicism. Dignity is the same for all. When one is killed, the life of one is equal to the other. There must be no differences in front of death.
Also filmed by the Americans and shown on TV was the wartime execution of 3 young Italians caught spying for the Germans. They'd been taken by the Americans behind their lines and condemned to death. What has caused ructions here has been the way this film was presented to the audience. In death we are all equal, it was said, almost as an echo of Signora Mussolini, all deserving of compassion. But with a clear implication that this applied in life too, that Italian fascists who'd spied for the Germans had been as worthy of our respect as the Italians who'd opposed them. One studio guest had even rhapsodized about the trio as heroes and martyrs. An old partisan watching TV at home was incensed.
He was not a hero. He was a spy and a traitor. He betrayed around 60 partisans and patriots.
When State TV heard of Signor Piendibene, they invited him on screen to tell his side of the story. He'd known the man with the cigarette all right, one Italo Palese, and a miserable tale it had been. Of course, he forgave Palese now, but there had been much to forgive, as he later told us. No equality in death in his eyes.
The German gendarmerie, commanded by the SS, came with this man, who pointed out the houses where the partisans lived. They knocked down the doors and took them in. We were taken to the Via Tasso. In the Via Tasso, torture was routine. I was tortured myself.